Good evening to all my listeners. The object of this speech is to celebrate Josh and Rick's graduation from Novi High School and admission to the University of Michigan. When I start talking about Josh and Rick, I have to go back in the beginning, way in the beginning. So let's see, they're 18 years old now, so I'll go back 19 years. When the doctor was monitoring Shoma, that's their mom, back in July of 1991, I refer to their mom as Shoma because that's how I've known her my whole life. Many of you know her as Madhu, but I know her as Shoma, so I'll call her Shoma. But when the doctor was monitoring her, he was unaware that we were having twins. Just like us, he thought we were having one baby. So he was confused with two distinct heartbeats at two different locations in the womb. About a month later, when she checked into the hospital for some dehydration for a couple of days, when we were leaving the hospital after the stay, the nurse asked us, "Ready to see your babies?" Babies, not baby. So that's when we peeked into the ultrasound machine and we saw two bouncing babies instead of one. And thus began Josh and Rick and our realization of them as their proud parents. Now things were much smoother than expected during the first year because all our grandparents were here, Shoma's parents as well as mine. And as a result, I was relieved of most of the typical parental duties, such as sleepless nights of feeding and diaper changing. At that time, I considered myself pretty lucky, but now that I think back, I think I missed out big time on that key element of parenthood. My first memorable experience of bonding with Josh and Rick was when they were just over a year old. Shoma had enrolled in some classes at Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio, which is where we were at the time. And I was driving her to class after work while they were tucked away in the back, on their car seats in the middle aisle of our van. And they had just started eating solid food, and when Shoma was in class, I knelt down on the aisle facing them, between them, and fed them bananas one bite at a time. Now, after a few days, I started noticing a difference in their personalities. If I gave Rick 2 bites in a row, Josh didn't seem to mind. But if I gave Josh 2 bites in a row, I could sense some uneasiness in Rick, even as babies. And something was telling him that I was ignoring him. So anyway, when they were about three years old, we moved to the Detroit area and settled in Walled Lake. A couple of the first activities they joined a few years after coming here in Detroit was t-ball and soccer. They seemed to enjoy those a lot. And then we had them join the Cub Scouts in Walled Lake. And there were a lot of den meetings and activities there, and I was even den leader for one of the years of the whole troop. And then we did a lot of fishing together at this time. And they also took swimming lessons, after the Cub Scouts, and then all 4 of us enrolled in karate class. And this is where we learned the Japanese numbering system, which was used to define the karate moves. Little did we know at the time, of course, that Rick was going to enroll in 4 years of Japanese in high school. Josh was going to do the same thing with language, but with Spanish. Now, my most vivid and fond memories with Josh and Rick during their childhood was their piano lessons. They took piano for 9 years, from age 6 to age 15. It was very, very memorable to drive them, twice a month to their piano lessons in Commerce, Michigan, and watch them progress from the simplest pieces to the most complex ones, bagging many music awards in the process. Now, we did a lot of fishing together, of course, during Boy Scouts, as I mentioned, but other than fishing, we also played a lot of tennis at the Novi High School courts across from our Novi house, and we also played a lot of basketball on our driveway hoop. Those are activities I did more than others with Josh and Rick. Now it is time to move on. A major milestone has been crossed in high school, and another major one lies ahead in college. Now for years, many wise men and women have searched for easier ways to cross these milestones. One of these ways is one that I personally believe in, and that's Vedantic thought. This thought process, more appropriately a theological science, was developed by Lord Ramakrishna Paramahansadev in eastern India in the late 1800s. As many of you know, he had a special relationship with the Divine Mother, Goddess Kali, the goddess of destruction of evil in the Hindu religion. And he lived in the temple of Dakshineshwar in eastern India with his wife and spiritual companion Sarada Devi, his prime disciple Swami Vivekananda, and many other monk disciples or Swamijis. The Holy Mother Sarada Devi was a very simple woman. She had three sayings for her disciples, three very important sayings. The first one in Bengali was Shocho Shoman Gunnai, or there is no virtue like forbearance. It pays a lot to be patient. Now, forbearance at that time mainly meant tolerance of physical or health issues. But in modern society, I guess forbearance could also mean tolerance of emotional hardship. Now, both physical or emotional hardship can, of course, be due to political, social, and economic issues or factors. Now, the second of her sayings was Santosh Saman Dhonnai, or there is no treasure like contentment. If you have contentment, if you're content, you have everything. Okay? So, the obvious question I have is this.